Am I live? I don't know. I like to hope so. Welcome, internet dwellers. Welcome one, welcome all. Streaming on a wide variety of censoring websites as well as Rumble, the website that hasn't censored me yet. But of course, you can find the edited content at NatesVlogs.net. I'm making this video because over the past few months, I kept hearing that the internet or that the child labor laws are being weakened. And you would think that would cause for concern. As a matter of fact, it should. Because I started working when I was 10. First job I had was working for my dad. You can argue that's outside of like the corporate structure. I was working, doing construction, like picking up garbage and whatnot. My dad had a hauling service. I was just making a few bucks for toys. Yeah, he played me out of a lot of money. He told me like he'll pay me like $10 an hour, and then if I finished the job early, or he'd give me the job, like a price for the job. Then he'd say, after I finish the job early, that I only get like a smaller amount than I was told. And he'd say, "Oh, you're getting more than minimum wage. This is like $10 an hour. It's 2 hours to do it." I said, so it's just, that's irrelevant. That was, he viewed it as like, I'm paying your rent, motherfucker. I'm paying for your food. I'm just giving you some money to buy your toys. But, I ended up working I had to get a work permit when I was 14 to work for this cat who had us out in the heat, extremely hot weather, collecting donations for something called the Job Youth Program, which ended up being a big scam because it was a dude. We found out he was a rapper. I ended up bringing like another friend into the whole scam that he had going, and we were collecting donations to help his rap career. And he brought us by this. It was a professional building in my hometown, and it said professional building on the side. So he told us that was where the main base was, but we never got to go inside to see this motherfucker. And we started questioning because on the little collection jars we had, it was a woman with his last name. It was like, "Is this your mom?" And as soon as we start asking that question, like the name on the fucking jar started to change. He used to use my money to get us to pay for taxis and shit like that. The money that I made from the job, and he never paid me back. But you could say, "Oh, it's not a big corporation." I started working for major corporations that you've heard of, including sandwich shops, Taco Bell, all that shit. A few months later, I had 2 jobs by the time I was 15. 2 jobs at the same fucking time. And when I was working at Taco Bell, I ended up getting overtime, which is illegal. Technically, it's supposed to be illegal. But, if you get more than 40 hours, you're supposed to get time and a half. I wish I knew these laws when I was this young. I didn't realize this shit until much later. But I had my paychecks divvied up in a way where I got my check where I was supposed to get all this overtime cash, like well over 40 hours. Because it was like the summer, I was doing all kinds of stuff. I remember one time I went to pick up my paycheck. My manager asked me to stay in. I did like a shift at the fucking drive-through, which is the most annoying work you can do. Because you just keep hearing bing, bing, bing. And you always got to take in orders and, run them up. Uh, well, yeah, I ended up doing that shit like all through the fucking summer, hella hours. And we had a manager who broke up my paycheck into twos. Like I was supposed to get paid all on this one check, but he was like, "No, I'll pay you on your next check." This was a check after I started school. I had like fewer hours, and he did that strategically. I didn't realize he was fucking me over because if he would have like put it all on the same check, I was supposed to get time and a half extra money, but I did not realize that was being played. So I just kind of laid down and let them fuck me over. And this is all while I'm still in high school. I'm like, and I was also working at a sandwich shop. They had me with access to a knife and all kinds of stuff where I could have used to mutilate myself. While working around crackheads who were, assaulted other co-workers and whatnot. But, yeah, so it's just like, when I hear like they're relaxing some of the laws around child workers, I'm like, okay, the laws that existed were already weak to begin with. And then when you add that to the fact that these managers, like, they will fuck over kids because they don't know shit about like labor laws. Like, even if I was an adult, like, they would have been fucking me over because of my ignorance. But now they got like kids like being butchers and shit. When they say they relax labor laws, I can't help but think, what do they got these kids doing? Like fucking diffusing bombs for the FBI that were probably planted by the FBI as well. Scary stuff. Yeah, and yeah, so it's just it should be a cause for concern. Because now it's just like, because one of the hustles, because even before I started working, I was being worked. They had like this program for kids, and this happened multiple grades, where they would get us to sell candy for the school, right? They would get us to sell this bullshit overpriced candy that we didn't even get access to. Like, we would take orders for this candy, we would take people's money, and it would take weeks for them to get this overpriced fucking candy. And it's just like, I didn't get any money from selling this fucking candy. Most I can get is if I sold a fuckload of it. There were like different prizes. Like you sell 1 million bars, you get like a water gun or whatever. And it's just like, they had me doing like hours of work trying to get these little fucking dollar store prizes. And this shit still goes on, believe it or not. I did it a few years where I actually tried. I turned in the money. Then I think by the time I got to 4th grade, well, it was a multitude of reasons, but maybe it was me subconsciously realizing this was all bullshit. But I ended up taking a bunch of people's money, and I never gave them their candy. I ended up just keeping the money because I just started spending some of it. Then I was like, okay, where am I gonna get the money to replace the little bit that I spent? And I was like, I started panicking, so I started spending more of the money. Then I just ended up spending it all. And I took like some of that money from my family, which, I stopped going over that side of the street where my family lived. But you know what? Next time I go to the Bay Area, I'll just bring them some candy and I'll say that their package arrived late. Whatever. It is better than the school getting the money. Because the school that I went to continued to stay in poverty. No matter how much fucking candy I sold or the other kids, I was always in poverty. And then the teachers who worked at the school, they were in poverty too. So I'm like, who the fuck is this? Who is benefiting from this broken ass system? And that's why every time I see like these kids, like, would you like to buy some candy? It's for a good cause. No, it's not. Are you getting money from the candy? No. Okay, then who the fuck is it? Who is benefiting from this candy that you're fucking trying to gouge me for? Um, but yeah, I like to hope that people will wake up to it. But it's a process, and it's the same shit. It was a video supposed to be heartwarming. It was like what is it, the Girl Scouts. They had a whole team of homeless Girl Scouts, like they were supposed to be like showing how kind the Girl Scouts institution was. They had these girls who they knew were homeless selling their cookies, right? And they were, like the how they benefited from it. It was just unclear because at no point did their parents get housing or anything. But they were just like, yeah, we're selling this, and we're struggling, we're homeless, but we're giving all this money to the Girl Scouts of America. And it's just like, like they're like taking people who they know are in desperation, getting them to sell shit for free. It's not like they're giving them an hourly wage or paying them per box of cookie. And this is all before they started saying that the child labor laws are being repealed. So now when I hear the child labor laws are being repealed, I'm like, what? How could it get worse? What the fuck? Because they had kids working. They've been working kids who are working since before I could remember. Now I'm just curious to know if anybody else was caught up in that scam. If you were in a school that ever had you hustling overpriced chocolate bars, no extra nougat, no nuts, no nothing, just regular ass chocolate, $12 a bar, and the chocolate was made in slavery. 70% of the chocolate we consume comes from slavery, and like, so it's like the enslaved kids who made the chocolate, they're poor. The motherfuckers who are selling it to their communities, they're poor. Their schools, they're poor. Like, who's profiting off of this shit? Have you ever profited from child labor? Like, as a child, as a corporation? I mean, I'm genuinely interested in knowing. And welcome one, welcome all. I know I think yesterday I mentioned I was going to be starting a little later than usual. But, yeah, it was, it was just, because it was a few topics I was considering. Then I was like listening to this podcast they were just talking about we should be concerned about the child labor laws, and because I mean I understand, like, they're trying to get these kids in because it's a record amount of people who refuse to take low wage jobs anymore. They're just like checking out, so they're just trying to get kids like desperate for like the new Pokemon cards or whatever the fuck they're into now. Yeah, I just when I hear those laws are being relaxed, I'm like, they were never that strong to begin with, or if they were strong, they were never enforced. Cause yeah, I've been getting played for a minute. Most of my people been getting played. I was just talking to a friend. I knew him since high school. We were both working at different competing fast food places. One of the only fast food spots I never worked at was McDonald's. And I never worked there or even tried to apply there because I had a few friends who worked there. So I heard all the gory details about how they treated their employees. And plus we had some overlap because it was when I worked at Taco Bell, one of the cashiers ended up getting fired because they were their cash register came up hella short. The suspicion was that they stole that money, and this was like before everyone started asking what are your pronouns. This was like a person who was biologically a male who clearly decided they wanted to be a female. Like, clearly decided, like when they showed up to work, you just thought that it was an effeminate gay person. But when he picked up his last paycheck, he had like a wig on, he had like the whole regalia, he had like a dress, all this shit. He's just like, I'm where my check at, motherfucker. He's just like going off, you know, doing the. I just, I don't think he actually did the living color. What is it? The Men on Film snap. But that's kind of how I remember it. You know, just like where my check at. But yeah, he ended up going to after he got fired from my Taco Bell. He worked at my homeboy's McDonald's, and he was fucking with the manager. Like he was like they were in some kind of romantic tryst, and you know, like he ended up he caused a fight of some kind. Well, I don't know if he caused a fight. He ended up getting socked by somebody. I don't know if he was the person who initiated it. It could have been a hate crime or whatever. But I just remember hearing about it. I was like, yeah, you know, that motherfucker stole hella shit from our cash register. And now, you know, I was like, it was judgmental at the time. You know, because I was like, oh, he stole shit from the cash register. After being fucked over by the corporation, realizing how badly they fucked me over, I wish he would have stole more. I should have been helping him. And well, I come to see the error of my ways a little later. I started to get on his page later in life. Well, it's I guess it's beyond the statute of limitations. Because when I was young, I worked at this was still before, while I'm still a child, under 18, I ended up working at a theme park. And I had a coworker who I actually did not fuck with. Mostly for what she did to me when we were in school. Like she was just very insulting and all kinds of shit. But we worked at this theme park. I worked at this food portion of a theme park. You know, like it was selling pizzas. The first one where she hooked me up with this game. Yeah, so she was like, I walked out like while she was clearing out the cash register, and I was like, ooh, you know they keep track of all that stuff too, you know, because I had the experience with the cat who had a drawer come up short. You know, I'm like, they count the till at the end of every night. I mean, I've heard people who stole from this particular theme park, but you know, after my experience of seeing how management always counts the till, I was like, you know, what are you doing? They're gonna find out you were stealing and You're gonna be fired. And then she was like, no, they don't count the till. They don't do any of that shit. And she was like, I was like, how do you know? She was like, I've been doing this shit for months. So she was just taking out all the 20s, the big bills, and then she told me, if you know, to cover her, like, you know, watch out for management and whatnot. And I did, and you know, after she had like a few days of just like getting away with it scot-free, I started to take my chance at it too. So I started just taking out all the surplus of money. You know, I started off with like 100 here, you know, 100 there. Then by the time we had like a Memorial Day rush, I was taking out you know, a lot more. And by the time I finished the summer, I had like closer to $20,000 that I had embezzled. And I even got caught doing it because I had this whole shit with my manager at the time. Because she was a teenage manager too, and all that power went to her head, and she used to be like just barking orders and just like it was just an irrational a way of going about doing things the way she did it, and very disrespectful to everybody who she worked for. But yeah, so I ended up having to be transferred to this different thing. I went from like slinging pizzas to hot dogs in the same park. And there was a manager coming to talk to me about the interaction I had with my manager, and I was like in the hot dog place all alone, and I was pocketing the money. When the supervisor, the dude in charge of all food came in, and he saw me putting the money in my pocket, and he um, he was like, he brought me into this little this room where he was saying, "Oh, we've known you've been stealing for months." Like, really? No one mentioned it? And, the only reason you came to talk to me was because of this little altercation I got into with the manager or whatever. I didn't mention all this stuff. I was just thinking it, but I was still scared, because I was also on probation for other stuff. It was a altercation I got into when I was 14. I was on probation until I was 18. But yeah, he was asking me to just confess to all the money I stole, and I only admitted to like taking like 10,000 or whatever. And yeah, then he was asking me to come back with my parents, my dad, because my mom was dead. He asked me to come back with my dad the next week. And I was thinking I just got to do it, or else my parole officer's going to find out. They're going to be filing these charges or whatever. And my sister was like, "Don't do it. Don't go in." That's everybody I know who got caught stealing from there. They regretted going back. I found out I had a cousin who did the same shit. So I ended up like not going in. I erased, because they left a message at my house. I erased the message so my dad couldn't hear it. I didn't go in, and then I get a call from our probation officer, and he wants me to show up at the courthouse in the next city over, and I end up actually going there, terrified. I was like more scared than I've ever been in my life. Then I get there, and I realized that he was there to talk about the process of me getting off of probation, because they didn't find out about it. Because what the people at the theme park did was illegal. They had me confess to all kinds of shit. They didn't call my parents. They didn't call any representation. I was still underage, so it was just extremely illegal. But I was approaching 18, and yeah. So, but shortly after I turned 18, I ended up getting off of probation, and that has never been an issue. They told me I couldn't come back to the theme park anymore. I went back. No issues. And if someone recognizes me from the whole incident, it's nothing they can do. So, moral of the story: rob corporations blind, especially if you're under 18, or don't. I mean, they're probably robbing you, and I'd rather rob them than let them rob me. Oh, and also, that wasn't my first experience with embezzlement. The homeboy who worked at McDonald's when I worked at Taco Bell, we ended up working at the same fast food spot at the same time when I was still a minor. He was the one who hooked me up with this idea of just giving away, or giving people a discount for cash when they made these certain orders. So let's say a menu order would be like, I want the 30-piece meal, and it's normally like $30 or whatever, and would be like, oh, do you have cash? Well, it's only $20 if you have cash, and then you take the chicken and whatnot, and you just pocket that. And that was also like a little extra money, but it was nothing in comparison to the money I made at the theme park, because I was like, they were charging extortion prices. But now that I said that out loud, I really hope no one no one tells the officials. However, I mean, like I said, I only condone doing it against giant corporations that are stealing our taxes anyway. So if like a McDonald's, KFC, Six Flags, whatever, if it's like a giant corporation getting millions and trillions in tax breaks, go for it. But if you work at like a locally owned something or other, show a little bit more respect. At least that's how I view it. Unless you're being like, if your checks are coming up short, I don't give a shit if it's locally owned or whatever. Don't let them play you. Because I had a few too many jobs that allowed me to get played. And I shudder to think about how badly kids are being extorted now that they relax labor laws. At some point, you got to fight back. And on that note, I will be taking a bathroom break. And I appreciate everyone who showed up and watched this. And be sure to check out NatesVlogs.net for the new rewinds, new employee evaluations, edited content. And don't let the bastards win.